The Joe Rogan Experience.
I mean, this is one of the things that attracts me to Christianity, is the idea of the first will be last, the last will be first. Is so radical.
Mm-hmm.
And it's literally the opposite of the survival of the fittest.
Right.
But America, why I love America is it has, I mean, the British Empire bullied it, and it stood up. We were coming here, I was asking someone in the car about the Declaration of Independence and how many Irish signatures there were, or wasn't that many, I can't remember what they were, but they were all committing treason.
Mm-hmm.
They were putting their lives, they were pledging their lives, their fortune, and their sacred honor. So America, the very essence of America, is this idea of sticking it to the bully.
Yeah.
And I know America can be a bully. We have our moments and all that, but it's the essence of who you are. And it happened again with the geezer with the tash.
The geezer with the tash. That's a great way of calling Hitler.
But
yeah,
you weren't having it.
Right.
And I, and I as an activist, which we can talk about later, but I remember going to, it's only a few hours from here, but I was in Lincoln, Nebraska, and Warren Buffett came to one of it's called Heart of America tour. We were raising awareness on this pandemic, this AIDS pandemic that had killed just, 30 million people at this point, and why might America be interested? And I'm very Irish and very given it a lot of that. And afterwards, I ask the sage of Omaha for any advice, and he gives me two pieces of advice. But the one was, don't ask people to do something simple because they won't trust you. He said, ask them to do something complicated.
What did you mean by that?
Well, he said, what are you asking people to do here? And I said, well, I'm asking them we're asking them, the one campaign, we're asking them to send a note to their local congressperson. He said, no, don't do that. Too simple. Make them do something more difficult and they'll trust you. Maybe 10 postcards. It's harder to do. And I was like, okay. And anything else? And he said something which really changed my life and changed my conversation with this country of yours. He said, don't appeal to the conscience of America. Don't do that. Appeal to the greatness of America.
Ooh.
And you'll get the job done. Americans want to be great.
That is true.
I think it is true. And because in Ireland, we work with guilt. You can guilt people.
Right.
There's a lot of countries you can work them just,
Yeah.
But Americans, not. Give them the chance to be the cavalry.
Yeah.
And Omaha Beach, the heroism of Omaha Beach, the lives poured out, and to save Europe from tyranny. And that's who America is. And, I gave you the Joshua Tree because it's not just as an Irishman, but probably more because I, as an Irishman, fell under the spell of America. Even as kids, coming here, a lot of the cooler bands would just play the coasts, the cooler UK bands or European bands. But I wanted to be all over America. I mean, we opened for a wet T-shirt competition in Dallas.
What year was this?
81.
I was a freshman in high
21.
school. Wow.
We in Austin. I don't know if anyone can remember, but it was called the Club Foot. It was a bad pun, but there was no AC, and I remember it was a tin roof. And for Irish people, we were just being boiled. But I really, really great memories of just bussing it through this sort of mythical landscape. There's nowhere in this country I would want to fly over. But I do now. You know, we got the plane, you got this. But I just remember thinking, there's so many Americas.
Yes.
But the mythology of America, I was reading, you know, Sam Shepard. I was reading, you know, On the Road. I was reading, you know, all these great writers and just opening up my imagination. That's where the Joshua Tree came from. And yeah, it's a mythology that then, can you imagine, I get to discover that in my case, it's not just a mythology. I was part of something that was extraordinary. So, former governor of Texas, George W. Bush, conservative, starts to lead the world in the fight against the AIDS pandemic, the greatest health crisis in 600 years since the bubonic plague. And I'm like, and people say, that's impossible. It's just not going to happen. And he does. And it becomes a bipartisan thing, and 26 million lives are saved. So it's strange, the way you see things. I had this, it wasn't a naive sense of America, but it was a sense that everything could be possible here. That it was somehow the landscape of America was a little more magical than everywhere else, and it wasn't just a country, America. It was an idea.
Yes. Yeah. At its greatest, that is
Yeah.
what America is. At its greatest, it's an idea, and it's an idea that was, like I said, was founded with the concepts behind the Declaration of Independence, and those men who wrote that, the men who signed the Bill of Rights, they were so young. They were so young. Some of them were 18 years old at the time, which is so crazy.
Jefferson was 32 or 33 when he wrote that.
He's an old codger.
I mean, that's wild. And then, by the way, years later, he's in France. I think he's in and he loved wine. And this emerged. I found this out because I saw a signature in a book. I was on some tour. I like to drink red wine. I've never been to Bordeaux in my life, but I went with some people who knew their way around wine, and they asked me to sign a book in this particular vineyard, posh kind of vineyard. But this was across the road from the big name sort of thing. And I said, can I see the first book? There's Thomas Jefferson's name in the first one. I thought, wow, this guy's dreaming up America on some very fancy red plonk.
Yeah.
Not plonk, actually. Some really, there's just, but, you know, I know there's lots of contradictions in America. And I know there was slavery still and that he had slaves. And I understand, but I'm encouraged that America perhaps doesn't exist yet, that it's still being written. If you think about it as a song, you think about it as a piece of music, it's not finished.
Right.
It's still being written.
Yeah.
They started at those signatures.
Yeah.
You, and if you let people like me stay, you know, we're still, you know, you're writing it. I'm not writing. I'm the annoying fan who follows America into the bathroom and with the liner notes, which are the Declaration, going, didn't you say this here? And like, get out. Who followed me into the bathroom? It's like, but I like the idea that this is far from finished, this composition.
Yes.
And for some people, the America that is available to you and me doesn't exist yet, but it will, and it can. And yeah.